I never thought flipping burgers at McDonald's would lead me into something that still keeps me up at night. It was the summer after my junior year in high school, and I had just turned 17. I was still figuring things out. What I wanted to do, who I wanted to be. My parents were the type who believed in earning your own, so the second school was out, they told me to get a job. I landed one at a McDonald's in a small town called Millstone, tucked in the middle of Indiana, surrounded by cornfields and gas stations that shut by 9. It wasn't my first job. I'd done a few weekend gigs at a hardware store, but this was different. Fast food was faster, louder, hotter. You had to keep moving or fall behind. I still remember my first shift. It felt like getting thrown into the deep end of a pool without knowing how to swim. The smell of fries never really left your clothes, and customers could go from polite to pissed in under 5 seconds. Still, I adjusted. I got good at it. There was a rhythm to it all. Clock in, toss your headset on, take orders, clean, repeat. Most of the crew was around my age. Students, college dropouts, a couple of older folks just trying to make ends meet. We weren't close, but there was a camaraderie during the night shifts, like we were surviving a war together, one Big Mac at a time. That's when I met Aaron. He got hired about 3 weeks after me. Tall, lean, maybe 20 or 21. He had dark circles under his eyes, like he didn't sleep much, and his uniform always looked just a bit too clean, like it wasn't worn from work but for appearance. I first noticed him during a backline shift. I was tossing fries into their trays when I saw him watching me. Not in a weird way at first, just observing, like he was figuring me out. We nodded. Didn't speak. The first time we actually talked, it was because he dropped a full box of frozen patties and muttered, "Shit." I helped him pick them up. "Thanks," he said quietly. "You're Dylan, right?" "Yeah," I nodded. "You're Aaron?" "Yeah." That was it. For the next couple of weeks, we barely spoke. We worked a few of the same night shifts, but he kept to himself. No joking around, no hanging out in the break room. He didn't even join the crew's group chat, but he did this thing. He'd stare. Not like a creep, just long enough for you to notice, and when you caught him, he'd look away like nothing happened. Weird, but not alarming. Yet, until that night. It was a Friday. I was scheduled until 9 p.m., same as usual. The restaurant wasn't busy, just a few cars in the drive-thru and a couple regulars inside. I clocked out, grabbed my bag, and walked out into the warm summer night. I was heading to my old Honda parked near the edge of the lot when I heard someone call out behind me. "Hey, Dylan!" I turned. It was Aaron standing near the dumpsters, no uniform on. "Didn't see you working today," I said, unlocking my car. "I wasn't, just had to stop by. Look, man, my ride bailed on me. Can you give me a lift?" I hesitated, not because I was trying to be a jerk, but because I hadn't seen him inside at all. No uniform, no sign-in, just suddenly here, in the back of the building. "Where do you live?" I asked. He gave me an address about 10 minutes away. I figured, whatever. He hadn't given me a real reason to say no. "Sure, hop in." We got into the car, and he buckled in without saying much. The drive started quiet. I tried to make small talk. "You've been working a lot lately?" "Not really," he said. "They've been cutting my hours, not sure why." His voice was low, almost monotone, but the way he said that, it felt like a dig, like he blamed someone. I didn't push. "Yeah, Rena's been kind of stingy with the schedule lately," I offered. He didn't respond. We got to his place, or at least the place he gave me, a small house tucked behind a mechanic shop. He got out without another word. "No, thanks, nothing." I shrugged it off and drove home, but that wasn't the last I saw of him. A week later, I was doing another closing shift. It ended around the same time. I said my goodbyes, headed to my car, and noticed a black sedan parked near the back corner of the lot. Engine off, lights off, like it had been sitting there for a while. I squinted. Behind the wheel, I saw a familiar shape, tall, slim, leaning forward like he was waiting. It was Aaron. He wasn't working. No one had seen him that day, and yet there he was, watching. I got in my car and pulled out slowly, glancing in my rearview mirror. The sedan didn't move at first, but just as I reached the stop sign at the end of the lot, its headlights clicked on, and it pulled out behind me. I took a right. So did he. I tried to stay calm. Maybe he was going the same way, but when I passed the turn to his street and he kept following me, my stomach dropped. I didn't want to drive straight home. Something about it felt wrong, exposing where I lived. So I took a detour, turned into another neighborhood, circled a few blocks, and pulled into a random driveway. Aaron's car slowly passed me. No hesitation, no waving. Just gone. I waited 5 minutes before driving back to my house. My chest was tight when I parked. I locked the doors, crept inside, and didn't sleep much that night. A few days later, I got a text. It was from Aaron. I didn't even remember giving him my number. Then I remembered. Someone in the crew made a group chat for coordinating shifts. That must have been how he got it. "Hey, you working tomorrow? I need a ride. Can't get there otherwise." My hands froze. I didn't want to confront him directly, so I replied vaguely, "Not sure if I'm on the schedule. Might have plans after." He didn't reply. When I brought it up to a coworker the next day, their face changed. "You didn't hear?" she asked. "He got fired, like 3 days ago." "What?" "Yeah, showed up drunk or something. Got into it with Rena. Cops came. It was weird." I felt sick. Later that night, our shift manager sent out a message saying Aaron was banned from the property. Not just fired, banned. No one knew exactly what had happened. I blocked his number. I never saw him again. I quit McDonald's a couple months after that. Not because of him exactly, but because things never felt the same. Every time I closed, I felt eyes in the dark. Every engine in the distance made me glance behind me. I started parking closer to the entrance, kept a flashlight in my car. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd let him back in my car that day, what he really wanted, and why the hell he was parked in that lot watching. I wasn't planning to go out that Saturday, but the hunger was real. It was sometime in early spring, warm enough to ditch the jacket, but windy enough to regret it. I'd been cooped up in my tiny apartment all morning, half watching crime documentaries on YouTube while scrolling through food delivery apps that kept showing outrageous wait times. I live in a neighborhood near downtown Graybridge, a busy part of the city with heavy foot traffic and packed storefronts. Around 3 p.m. I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I needed food. Fast, cheap, greasy. I needed McDonald's. There's a McDonald's on Silver Avenue, just a 15-minute walk from my place. It's wedged between a rundown liquor store and an always-closed shoe repair shop. You wouldn't think much of it, but it's popular, probably because it's open late and the food is consistent. When I got there, I immediately saw it was more crowded than usual. Not chaos, but the kind of packed where the AC barely mattered. A group of teens hovered near the counter, waiting for their shakes. 2 mothers were sharing a table while their kids ran wild. There were about 5 long lines, each snaking back from the registers. But the smell of fries and sizzling patties made it worth the wait. I joined the end of one of the lines, staring up at the glowing menu screen and already imagining biting into a Big Mac. The line moved. Slowly, but it moved. People shuffled forward, a rhythmic one-step every few seconds kind of motion. My stomach growled. I zoned out watching the employees behind the counter, sweating, fast-moving, like they were performing a chaotic dance. The place buzzed, but something about it felt off. I couldn't place it yet. Just a whisper of unease in the back of my mind. Then it happened. A man brushed past the people behind me and approached my side, too close for comfort. He looked about late 30s, maybe early 40s. Skinny, tall, but hunched a little, like he was trying not to be noticed. He wore a navy hoodie with the hood up and dark jeans that were wet at the bottom like he'd walked through puddles. His face looked dry, cracked lips, sunken eyes, tired, but not homeless, just worn down. "Hey," he said softly, almost sheepishly. "Mind if I just hop in real quick? I just need a water. Really thirsty, man." He looked right at me. It felt rude to say no. He didn't look threatening. He even smiled a bit. "Yeah, sure," I said, stepping back half a foot. "Just water, right?" He nodded once. "Appreciate it, bro." He stepped in front of me and waited. The person ahead finished their order, and hoodie guy walked right up to the register. I expected him to say, "Just a water, please." He didn't. He started ordering. And I mean, ordering. "Let me get 2 McChickens, large fries, a double cheeseburger, no pickles, large Sprite. Oh, and do you still have the McFlurry with Oreo? Cool. Yeah, that too." I stood there, dumbfounded. At first I thought maybe he changed his mind, but the more I listened, the clearer it became. He'd lied, straight to my face. I stepped forward, gently tapped his shoulder. "Hey man," I said, "you said you just wanted water." He barely turned his head, just lifted one hand and waved me off like I was some annoying insect. Now, I was pissed. "You lied to my face, bro," I said louder. He didn't answer, just kept ordering, asking about combo sizes now. By the time he finished, took him a solid 2 minutes, I was fuming. He finally stepped aside with his receipt and walked toward the drinks machine like nothing happened. I ordered my Big Mac meal quickly and went to wait. And then something weird happened. As I stood near the pickup counter, I noticed hoodie guy wasn't filling up his drink. He was just standing there, right in front of the soda fountain, hands in his pockets, eyes scanning the room. No drink, no cup, just watching. Not creepy watching. More like waiting. I confronted him again. "You know, if you'd just been honest, I might have still let you go ahead," I said. He turned to me slowly. His face had changed. No longer sheepish. Just blank. Empty eyes. "Plans change," he muttered. That's when he laughed. A short, dry sound, like he was laughing at me, not with me. I shook my head and turned away. "You're a real piece of work," I muttered. I heard the hiss of soda behind me, and the splash before I even turned. The man had thrown his drink on me. Ice, Sprite, the whole damn cup, all over my back and hair. The restaurant fell into this eerie silence for a second. A few people gasped. I stood there, sticky, stunned, wet. I didn't retaliate. I was raised better than that, but I was boiling inside. He walked away without a word. A teenage girl working the counter called my order. Somehow my food came out before his. I passed by him near the pickup counter, looked him dead in the eye and said, "Look who got their food first. Loser. That wiped the smirk off his face. I walked out half laughing to myself despite how soaked I was. What a nutcase. But it didn't end there. When I reached my car, a silver Civic parked just off the lot, I heard fast footsteps behind me. I turned just in time to see him, same guy, throw the rest of his drink onto my windshield. Before I could react, he kicked my headlight. Hard. It made a popping sound but didn't crack. Then he leaned in and hissed, "Next time, mind your own line," and stormed off back inside like nothing happened. I stood there in disbelief, dripping Sprite, heart pounding. I should have called the cops, reported him. But honestly, I was scared. Something in his eyes. There was nothing there. No rage, no regret, just hollow. I haven't been back to that McDonald's since. And whenever I think about it, I realize it wasn't about food. That man, he didn't want fries or a soda. He wanted something else. Control. Power. A moment to make someone else small. And on that day, he picked me. But here's the thing that really haunts me. A friend of mine who still goes to that McDonald's swears she saw him again. Same hoodie, same dead eyes. But this time, he didn't just throw a drink. He followed someone into the restroom, and they never saw that person come out. I never expected a McDonald's run to end with me running for my life. My name's Jason Miller. I'm 29, live alone in a one-bedroom apartment on the second floor of a modest complex in Everett, Washington, a quiet city north of Seattle that most people either pass through or forget exists. It's not a dangerous place. Not the kind of town where you look over your shoulder every time you walk outside. But maybe that's why this still sticks with me. Because I never saw it coming. I work from home as a web developer. Freelance stuff. Contract gigs for small companies that need e-commerce sites or app design. The kind of work that never really ends. You're either coding, testing, or waiting on client feedback at weird hours. That day was already off to a rough start. My sleep schedule was messed up, I'd skipped lunch, and I had a tight deadline on a UI project due the next morning. Things were manageable, until the Wi-Fi died. It was around 3:30 in the afternoon. One moment I'm checking code commits, the next, nothing's loading. I refreshed, waited, rebooted my router. Nothing. I called my ISP and got put on hold with some robotic jazz music. After nearly an hour, they told me there was an outage in the area. Estimated resolution time, several hours. I stared at the screen in disbelief. I had too much work left and no time to waste. That's when I remembered the McDonald's a few blocks away. It's open 24 hours and has decent Wi-Fi. I'd gone there a few times before, mostly to grab food late at night after long coding sessions. It wasn't busy during the evenings, and I figured I could bunker down there for a few hours, finish up, and be home before midnight. So I packed up my laptop, tossed on a hoodie, and left around 6:15 p.m. The sun was already dipping below the trees, giving the streets that golden-orange glow that only lasts a few minutes. I walked fast, cutting through the usual residential path and crossing the empty strip mall parking lot. McDonald's was quiet when I got there. A few high school kids in one corner, an older man reading the newspaper, and a tired-looking cashier behind the counter. I ordered a black coffee and a McChicken, found a booth in the far back corner near an outlet, and set up my gear. To be honest, it was kind of perfect at first. The Wi-Fi connected immediately, the coffee was hot, and there was just enough background noise to help me focus. I zoned in. Hours passed. I barely looked up. By the time I hit submit on the final project file, it was just after 9 p.m. The place was empty now. I hadn't noticed it getting quiet until I looked up and saw only one other guy sitting near the front. He wore a dark gray hoodie with the hood pulled up, head angled down like he was staring at his phone. Or maybe nothing at all. I figured he was just another guy killing time. Didn't think twice about him. I packed up slowly, letting the last of the coffee settle before tossing it in the trash. My laptop slid into my bag with a satisfying click and I zipped up my hoodie. It was time to head home. As I pushed open the glass door and stepped outside, the night air hit me, colder than I expected. The parking lot was mostly empty now, lit only by a few flickering overhead lamps. That's when I noticed him. The guy in the hoodie. He had come out right after me. He wasn't walking past me or toward a car. He was just there, standing near the corner of the building, head still low. I glanced at him briefly, nodded out of instinct, then turned down the sidewalk. I wasn't scared yet. Not really. Just aware. You live alone long enough, you learn to trust your gut, and something in me whispered, "He's watching you." I didn't look back right away. I just walked at a steady pace. I passed the gas station across the street, then the liquor store, then the dark stretch with no streetlights leading toward my apartment. That's when I heard footsteps. Not close, but not far either. I turned and looked behind me, and sure enough, he was there, 30, maybe 40 feet back, still looking down, still walking. My throat tightened a bit, but I kept walking. I didn't want to panic. Maybe he just lived nearby. Maybe it was nothing. But the distance never changed. I walked faster. So did he. By the time I reached the front gate of my apartment complex, my heart was pounding. There was no one else outside, no cars passing, just me and him. I made a split-second decision. Instead of going through the main entrance, I veered off to the right, heading for the lesser-used side entrance that required a key fob. I didn't even check to see if he saw me change course. I just moved. I got to the door and fumbled for my keys. My hands were shaking. Found the fob. Tapped it. The little green light flashed. The door clicked open. I slipped inside and slammed the door shut. And then, right as I locked it, I saw his face through the glass. He was right there, standing on the other side. His hood had slipped back slightly, revealing pale skin and blank eyes that looked like they hadn't slept in days. He didn't try to talk. He just gripped the handle and pulled. Hard, but it wouldn't open. And then, he smiled. Just a little. Then flipped me off. I didn't wait around. I bolted upstairs 2 steps at a time and locked myself in my apartment. Heart racing, chest tight. From my bedroom window, I peeked outside. He was still there, standing in the grass, staring up at me. Then he turned and walked away. I didn't sleep that night. I haven't seen him since. But every time I pass that McDonald's, I remember that walk, that stare, that feeling. And I never go there after dark anymore. A week passed, then 2. The police never found anything. I filed a report, gave them a description, but without a face caught on camera or a crime technically committed, there wasn't much they could do. I changed my routine, switched gyms, started ordering groceries instead of going out late. And I never, ever took my laptop to that McDonald's again. Some nights, I'd still catch myself glancing out the window before bed, just in case. But he never came back. Maybe it was random. Maybe he was just some drifter passing through. But the truth is, I don't believe that. Because sometimes, when the wind is just right and the neighborhood's quiet enough, I swear I still feel it. presence. Not in the streets, not outside, but watching, from somewhere, waiting. And I've come to accept something about that night. Something I don't tell anyone. I wasn't just followed. I was chosen. And I don't know why he picked me. But I'm scared one day he'll come back and next time he won't stop at the door. It was still dark. When I stepped out into the damp chill of the early morning, my breath visible in the cold air. The streets of Brighton Hill, a small suburban town nestled just outside of Vancouver, were nearly silent at 2 a.m., only the occasional flicker of headlights cutting through the fog. I worked the opening shift at a local McDonald's tucked beside an old gas station and a laundromat that hadn't been open in years. I wasn't new to this job. I'd been working there part-time for over a year while juggling my college classes, and though the graveyard shift wasn't ideal, it paid a bit extra. Plus, I liked my manager, Tanya, a tough but kind woman in her late 30s with a sharp sense of humor and a strong instinct for keeping her crew safe. Normally, our opening time was 4 a.m., but sometimes we'd come in earlier if the overnight shift bailed, which happened more often than we liked. That night was one of those nights. Tanya had texted me earlier saying, "Come in at 2. We'll knock out prep early. Text me when you pull up, I'll let you in." As I turned into the lot, headlights sweeping over the rain-slicked pavement, I noticed someone. A man. He stood just outside the main entrance, not even trying to take cover from the rain. His hood was down, shoulders hunched forward, a cigarette glowing at his lips. His eyes locked onto my car as I pulled in, and for a second I hesitated. The way he was staring, it wasn't curiosity. It was calculating. Cold. Like he already knew me. There were no other cars in the lot. Why the hell was he out here at this hour, in the rain, with no jacket? I grabbed my phone with trembling fingers and texted Tanya. "Here." Some guy outside near the door. Seconds later, I saw her emerge from the back entrance with a black umbrella. She rushed toward me fast. "Come on, let's go," she said sharply, barely giving me time to lock my car. "Did you see him?" I asked. "Yeah," she muttered, glancing back over her shoulder. "Don't look, just get inside." We made it through the side door and locked it behind us. The rain was loud on the roof, but I could still hear the faint sound of the guy's voice outside, low, steady, like he was talking to someone. "Maybe he's just waiting for breakfast," I said, trying to laugh it off. "Then why the hell isn't he in his car?" Tanya asked, pulling off her soaked hoodie. "And why was he looking at you like that?" She had a point. We didn't open to customers for another 2 hours. Until then, it was just me and her. The store felt colder than usual. I distracted myself by restocking the front, sauces, napkins, cups. Tanya disappeared into the office to run the morning checklist. About 10 minutes passed. I was refilling the ketchup bins when I heard Tanya call out, her voice tense. "Hey, come in here a sec." I walked into the office where she pointed to the screen. We had 4 security cams around the building: front entrance, side lot, back alley, and drive-through. The man was still there. Now he was pacing. He pulled a phone from his pocket and began speaking into it. Spanish. It wasn't the most common thing in this area, but it wasn't unheard of either. "Can you understand any of that?" Tanya asked. "A bit. My dad's from Honduras," I replied. "Not fluent, but I catch things." I leaned closer, trying to make out the words through the grainy mic audio. Then I heard it. "Las dos están solas, ya lo confirmé, les voy a agarrar cuando entre." The 2 of them are alone. I confirmed it. I'm going to grab them when I get inside. My stomach dropped. "He knows it's just us," I whispered. He He's going to grab us." Tanya's face drained of color. "What the hell?" she muttered, quickly grabbing her phone. "Go look through the lobby window. Don't open the door. Just see if he's still there. I'm calling the cops." I walked out, heart pounding. He was right at the door, just standing there, rain dripping from his hair. His left hand tapped softly on the glass. His right was hidden behind his back. I tried to motion to him. "We're closed. Come back later." He didn't budge. Instead, he dragged his nails slowly across the glass, making this god-awful screech. My heart thumped louder in my chest. I tried not to let him see I was scared, but I know I failed. Then he said it loudly, in a voice thick with malice. "Serta. Pig." I froze. He knew I could understand him. He wanted me to. From the office, I heard Tanya shout, "They're sending a unit right now. They're only a few blocks away." I stood frozen by the counter, watching as the man's stare grew more agitated. He tried the door, locked, thank God. Then he reached into his coat and pulled out what looked like a screwdriver, long, rusted. That's when he began to bang. Hard. Repeated erratic thuds against the glass. Tanya appeared behind me, whispering, "Back away. Come on." We moved toward the kitchen, keeping low. Less than 10 minutes later, flashing red and blue lights cut through the front windows. The man bolted. We watched from behind the fryer line as officers swarmed him. One tackled him before he could even open his rusted Ford parked near the alley. They found a roll of duct tape in his back seat. Zip ties, the screwdriver, a rag. When they shoved him into the cruiser, he looked straight at me through the window. That same stare, that fury, like it was personal, like we ruined something for him. The police told us they'd be in touch, asked questions, took statements, but we never heard anything more. Tanya and I kept working there, but we always kept the doors locked until sunrise. And me? I started carrying pepper spray. Sometimes when I closed my eyes, I still saw his face, soaked in rain, eyes full of rage, calling me Cherda, like he wasn't just trying to scare me, like he was hunting. A week later, a detective came by during the late shift. He was polite but tired looking, the kind of guy who'd seen too many people like the man from that night. He asked more questions, showed us a photo lineup, and confirmed what we already knew. The guy wasn't local. "Name's Hector Salgado," he told us. "From out near Kelowna, known associate of a small trafficking ring we've been tracking, mostly quiet, low level. We think he was casing businesses along Highway 1, places with skeleton crews, girls working alone." My stomach turned. "Why us?" Tanya asked. The detective hesitated. "That's the thing," he said. "We checked his phone. GPS logs show he'd been here before, multiple times, parked across the street, always around the same hour." He looked at me gently. "I think he was watching you." That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying it all in my mind. His stare, the whisper through the glass, that rusted Ford parked in the alley. And one thing still haunts me. In the phone's call log, there was a final outgoing call, placed just minutes before he was arrested. No voicemail, no name, just a number. The call connected. Whoever was on the other end never called back, never got caught. I never expected something so small to haunt me for so long. Back when I was 17, I worked part-time at a McDonald's not far from where I lived in Woodlake, a sleepy working-class town where not much happened and everybody knew someone who worked at the big Walmart down the highway. It was a routine job. I was still in high school, living with my parents, and McDonald's was only a 5-minute walk from our house. My parents liked that, said it was safe, easy to get to, and a good way for me to build responsibility. And honestly, I didn't mind. The money was decent for a high schooler, the staff was chill, and most shifts went by fast, especially in the evenings when dinner rush would slam us for 2 solid hours. By the time this happened, I'd been working there for about 4 months. I was used to the rhythm of the place, restocking sauces, wiping down trays, punching in Happy Meals with muscle memory. It wasn't exciting, but it was stable. I liked the predictability of it. Until that one night in December when everything started to feel off. It was a Wednesday. I remember that clearly. I'd had a rough day at school, 2 tests and barely any lunch, so I was already on edge when I clocked in for my 4 p.m. shift. The lobby was quiet when I got there, just a couple of older folks sipping coffee and a mom with her toddler finishing up a Happy Meal. By 6 o'clock, the dinner rush hit us like a truck. The line stretched to the door. I was behind the front counter taking orders, trying to move fast without messing up. I had just finished ringing up a big family order when I saw her. She walked in like any other customer, except something about her made my brain do a double take. Maybe it was how deliberate she moved. She wasn't looking at the menu or the counter, just scanning the lobby. And then her eyes landed on me. She was in her mid-30s, I'd guess. Pale skin, long dark hair tied back, wearing an oversized green coat. I didn't think much of it at first, just another tired customer. But instead of getting in line, she stepped to the side, pulled out her phone and snapped a picture of me. It was fast, but obvious. She didn't even try to hide it. I blinked, stunned for a second, then looked around to see if anyone else noticed. The guy ordering next to me did a double take and muttered, "Did she just take your picture?" I nodded slowly, still processing. Yeah, I think she did. Before I could say anything to her, she turned around and walked straight out the door. No food, no interaction, just the photo. The rest of the night I couldn't shake the weirdness. My manager, Craig, asked if something was wrong, and I just said I felt tired. I didn't want to sound paranoid. 3 nights later, I was back for another evening shift. Things felt normal again until around 8:30. The rush had died down, and I was standing at the register waiting for someone to come up. I heard the door chime. It was her again. Same woman, same green coat, same blank expression. This time, she didn't even pause. She walked in, pulled out her phone, and snapped another picture of me, directly this time. No hesitation. Just raised the phone, took the shot, and started turning around. I stepped forward. "Hey, what are you doing?" She didn't answer, didn't even look surprised or embarrassed. She just turned away, phone still in hand, and walked right back out. "Yo, what the hell was that?" murmured Tasha, one of my coworkers. She was wiping down a table nearby and had seen the whole thing. I shrugged, trying to play it off. No clue. That same woman came in a few nights ago and did the same thing. For real? Tasha looked toward the door. Creepy. You know her or something? Never seen her before that first time. I told my manager that night, and he looked concerned but unsure of what to do. If she comes back again, let me or the shift lead know. Maybe we'll call the non-emergency line or something. About a week passed, no sign of the woman. I started to think maybe it was just some random person with weird behavior. Maybe a misunderstanding or a prank. I let it go. Then one Friday afternoon, I got home from school, tossed my backpack down, and found my mom standing by the kitchen counter holding an envelope. "This came in the mail for you," she said. "No return address. Weird, huh?" I took it from her and sat down at the table. The envelope was plain white, my name handwritten on the front. No stamp, just dropped in our mailbox apparently. Inside were 2 photos. Both of them were of me. Behind the McDonald's counter, working. One was from the night I'd first seen the woman, the other from the second encounter. I sat there staring at them, a cold feeling blooming in my chest. These weren't just random snaps, they were centered, focused, and clearly intentional. "What's wrong?" my mom asked. I hesitated. "Remember when I told you someone took my picture at work?" She nodded slowly. "This is from that?" I handed her the photos and she frowned. This is creepy. Who is she?" "I don't know. We called McDonald's that night. Craig was off, but another manager, Rachel, answered. She remembered me telling her about the woman. "I'm gonna check the cameras and write an incident report," she said, "just to have it documented." The next couple weeks crawled by with that gnawing feeling in my gut that someone was watching. I stopped walking to work and started asking my dad for rides. I'd check behind me constantly, especially when locking up the lobby at night. The paranoia was sharp, like a sliver under my skin I couldn't dig out. Rachel followed through. She pulled the security footage from both nights. Sure enough, there was the woman, clear as day. The weirdest part? Each time, she only entered the frame for about 15 seconds, just long enough to walk in, snap a picture, and leave. Always focused on me. Rachel said she filed a report through the McDonald's incident system and also gave us a copy of the footage on a flash drive. My mom gave it to the local police. They said they'd look into it and suggested we file a formal report if the woman returned. But nothing came of it. No updates, no follow-up, until Christmas Eve. We were running a skeleton crew. Just me, Tasha, our cook Luis, and the closing manager Joel. It was quiet. A few last-minute drive-through orders. Most people were home, wrapping presents or watching holiday specials. It was snowing hard by the time we started shutting down the lobby. Around 9:45, Joel asked me to take out the trash to the back dumpster. I hated that job in the winter, especially at night, but I said sure. I bundled up, grabbed the bag, and headed out the back door into the alley where the dumpsters were. The snow was still falling, the sky glowing orange from the streetlights. I was halfway to the bin when I heard crunching, slow, steady footsteps in the snow. I stopped, turned around. She was standing at the edge of the alley, maybe 30 feet away. Same woman, same green coat, no umbrella, no hat. Just standing there, soaked with snow, hair clinging to her face. Her phone was in one hand. The other hung limp at her side. I froze. My first instinct was to run back inside, but something about her, some eerie calmness, kept me locked in place. She didn't move, didn't raise the phone, just stared at me like she was waiting. I took one step backward. That's when she finally lifted her arm and waved. A slow, deliberate wave. Like we knew each other, like we were old friends. Then she turned and walked away. Not in a hurry, not trying to hide, just disappeared into the swirling snow. I ran back inside and slammed the door behind me. My chest was heaving, lungs full of ice and fear. I told Joel everything. He called the cops right away this time. They showed up 15 minutes later, but of course she was gone. No footprints by the alley entrance thanks to the heavy snowfall. No clear camera angle from that side of the building. Just me and the memory. The cops took it a little more seriously that night, especially after seeing the photos I'd received. They said they'd do extra patrols around our neighborhood, but again, nothing came of it. After that, she never came back. Not to McDonald's. Not to my house. Not in person anyway. But every now and then, every few months or so, I'll find something strange. A picture slipped inside my mailbox, tucked under my windshield wiper, or slid into the back pocket of my coat while I'm in a store. Always a photo, always of me. Sometimes at work, sometimes in my driveway, once in my bedroom window, taken from the street. There's no message, no contact, no demand, just the photo. She's never in them. Only I am. I moved out of Woodlake when I turned 19. Different city, changed my number, got a new job, tried to start fresh. But even now, 10 years later, I still check my mailbox with a little hesitation. Still peek out my blinds before going to bed, because I never found out who she was. And something tells me I never will, but she knows me. And she never stopped watching. I wasn't the type to scare easy. By the time I started college in fall 2009, I had already grown up in a rougher part of Indiana, where you learned pretty quick how to mind your business, trust your gut, and always check your back. But I'd moved away for school, got accepted to Northern Pine State University, a small campus in a sleepy town called Ashburn, tucked between cornfields and worn-down highways. It was the kind of place where folks left their front doors unlocked and even the cops waved at you. You'd think that kind of quiet would bring comfort, but what I learned that year was that horror doesn't need noise to be loud. It can creep up in silence. It can sit across from you in a fast food joint and smile like everything's fine. Back then I was 18, first year away from home. I lived in a shared dorm on the east side of campus. My roommate Dana was a chain-smoking sophomore who barely attended class but somehow still passed. We weren't close, but she was cool enough. The friends I did get close to were mostly from my English comp class. Alyssa, my best friend since orientation, Sam, short for Samantha, and her boyfriend Tyler. We clicked fast. Spent our weekends either at tiny local shows or just walking around town eating garbage food and talking about life like we knew anything about it. It happened on a Saturday night. We just left a campus concert thrown by this garage band called Third Rail. Super local, never made it big, but you'd know their name if you were from Ashburn. They played at an old auditorium near the library, and after the show, we were starving. Nothing fancy was open, not in that town, not that late. So naturally we ended up at the McDonald's off Cedar Street, the only 24-hour spot near campus that didn't look like it might poison us. There were 4 of us that night, me, Alyssa, Tyler, and Sam. It was cold outside, late November, I think. That kind of cold that hits your bones the second the wind cuts through your jacket. We rushed inside and got in line, shivering and half laughing from the wind. The place was quiet, mostly empty except for an older couple sharing coffee by the window. The usual buzz of the fryers and distant mumble of the radio filled the space. We ordered the cheapest stuff we could get with the change we scraped together. Between us, it was something like 2 McChicken sandwiches, a large fries, and a 40-piece McNugget with water cups. Classic broke college move. We found a table near the back by the restrooms and sat down to feast like kings on processed meat and fake sauce. We were mid-laugh about a story Sam was telling when I saw him walk in. The guy. He looked wrong. He wasn't scary in an obvious way. He was average height, average build, but something about him didn't sit right. Sweatpants, stained white t-shirt, oversized black backpack, and long, greasy hair that looked like it hadn't been washed in weeks. His eyes were wild. Not just tired, but too awake, like he was seeing everything at once. He came in breathing hard like he'd been running, but when I glanced outside, no one else was there. He scanned the room, locked eyes with the cashier for a second, then turned and sat at a table near the bathroom. I leaned into Alyssa and whispered, Tell me that guy doesn't look like he just crawled out of a meth lab." She smirked, then glanced over. The smile dropped from her face almost instantly. "Yeah, something's off, just ignore him." We tried. We really did. We focused on our food, on each other. Tyler cracked a joke about how many nuggets Sam could eat in one sitting, and we laughed. Too loud, maybe. Too nervous. But the guy hadn't ordered anything. Just sat there, breathing like he was trying to calm himself down. Every once in a while, he'd glance at us. Then, right as Tyler turned to throw a fry at Alyssa, the man stood up. He walked straight to our table, a crooked smile on his face, and held up a flashlight. "Hey," he said. His voice was hoarse but oddly calm. "Weird favor to ask. The toilet in the men's room is overflowing. One of y'all want to help me out?" We blinked at him. The air went still. "I think an employee should probably handle that," Tyler said, voice firm. The man chuckled like we'd missed the joke. "Yeah, but none of them are coming. Seriously, just need a hand." "No, man," Tyler said more firmly. "We're eating. Leave us alone." The man's face fell for a second. Then, without another word, he turned and walked back to his table, picked up a drink cup that wasn't there before, and walked out the front doors. I watched him walk down the sidewalk. He didn't look back. The tension slowly broke. Sam mumbled something about how he gave her the creeps, and Alyssa agreed. "Wait," I said. "Did anyone see him even go into the bathroom?" We all paused. "No," Alyssa whispered. "I don't think he ever did." I stared at the bathroom door. It hadn't opened once since we'd been there. We left not long after. Walked home fast. I didn't sleep well that night. A week later, Tyler almost choked on his water at breakfast. He was watching the morning news on his laptop and called us over. The guy, the same guy, was on the screen. The news anchor said he had been arrested after luring a woman into a bathroom at a diner 2 towns over. Same tactic. Said the toilet was overflowing. This time, someone followed them in and caught him trying to assault her. He had rope, duct tape, a knife, and a bottle of pills in his backpack. I felt sick. We called the police and gave our report. An officer came to campus to take statements. They said he'd been drifting through towns along Route 60 for months. No fixed address. Prior offenses in other states. Alyssa stopped eating out at night. Sam started walking with pepper spray. I didn't go back to that McDonald's for over a year. What haunted me more than anything was this. He was waiting, sitting in that restaurant with his plan. And if one of us, just one, had gotten up to follow him, I don't know what would have happened. Months passed. The guy went to trial. He was sentenced, thrown into prison. We tried to move on. Tyler and Sam moved out of state. Alyssa and I stayed close. Life went on. Then one night, a year later, we were catching up over dinner at her apartment. I brought up that night. She froze. Her eyes darted away from mine. "There's something I never told you," she said quietly. "He died. In prison. Took his own life. About 6 months ago." I didn't know how to feel. Relieved? Disturbed? Both? All I knew was this. I'd trusted my gut that night, and it probably saved my life. If you ever feel like something's off, say something. Don't be polite. Don't second guess. Because monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they smile. Sometimes they carry backpacks. And sometimes they're just one yes away from destroying everything.